Furi belongs in that frustrating group of games that wants to brag about how hardcore it is, and how anyone who can't handle its punishing difficulty is not a hardcore gamer. The recommended difficulty of Furi, aptly named Furi, perhaps a tease of the violent frustration you'll feel playing it, proclaims that it will be challenging, demanding, and that you will enjoy the adrenaline of combat. And that's true, for the most part. Since I'm reviewing the game based on my own experience rather than the experience of others, I'm in the minority that found very little enjoyment in Furi, which is a real shame. But I get it. I understand why it's getting praised by press and fans alike for being a very demanding, endurance-pushing experience. For years, games have held our hand and only expected the bare minimum out of us. Most games during the last generation might as well have played themselves. It's part of why the Souls series became the phenomenon that it is. Unfortunately, as with anything popular, it inspired a lot of Me Too copycats that think challenge involves stacking the odds against you to an overwhelming degree. Furi is one of those games, and it suffers for it. The game was clearly designed with a very niche audience in mind, and that's not a bad thing at all, but I couldn't help but notice a rather troubling aura of smugness to how the game approaches its challenge. Like Mighty Number 9, God rest my soul, Furi has a misguided understanding of what hardcore gaming is. And yes, I did just compare Furi to Mighty Number 9. Suck it. In my eyes, hardcore gaming is not an experience that kicks your genitals to your head and laughs at you while you suffer. It's something that's designed for a specific audience without condescending to the people who just can't get into its groove. And that's the relationship I had with Furi. I spent nearly 2 hours trying to take down the second boss, but rather than give up, I decided to lower the difficulty. This is where the game's condescending attitude comes into play. For choosing not to push your thumbs and brain to their absolute limits, you're mocked for lowering the difficulty to easy mode. The game labels you like a pariah throughout your playthrough for not being hardcore enough for Furi, and it feels like an incredibly dick move on the developer's part. No one, and I repeat, no one, should feel like a lesser gamer for deciding to tone the difficulty down, especially for something as grueling as Furi. And even after toning down the difficulty, the game doesn't become enjoyable. The easy mode is infantile levels of challenge, with enemies that have severely reduced phases and go down like chumps. Basically, the game treats you like you're stupid. You're also constantly being reminded that you won't earn trophies nor be allowed to rank on the leaderboards because you couldn't handle what the game had to initially offer. It's pretty fucking demeaning, if I'm being honest here. So you're stuck with 2 difficulties: pushover and ridiculous. There is no middle ground here, and the game suffers immensely for its exclusion. So what does the difficulty that Furi recommends from the get-go entail? Well, bosses that have 4 to 6 phases with numerous attack patterns, actually double that if you take into account that it takes 2 depletions of health to remove 1 health bar, the occasional bullet hell section, and attacks that can cut down your health in mere seconds. What do you possess to defend yourself? 3 measly health bars. Lose all 3 health bars, and all the time and effort you put into getting so far into the fight means jack shit. Even if you're on the very last phase, you gotta start all over again, bub. If that makes you wince at the mere thought of it, stay far away from Furi. The whole game is like this. The Souls series is a very obvious comparison here, but yeah, it's warranted. In the series, some bosses have multiple phases and attack patterns, with my personal favorites being the Abyss Watchers and the Twin Princes, both from Dark Souls 3. But they aren't designed to be neither cheap nor overwhelming spammers like the ones in Furi. They might initially be intimidating, but the game uses subtle encouragement to get you back into the fight for one more go. You also have more tools to work with, whereas in Furi, the arsenal at your disposal is extremely limited. What you have at the beginning of the game is the exact same thing as what you'll have at the end of the game. No new skills, no new weapons, no nothing. And unlike the Souls games, where there are only a handful of bosses that do this, every single boss in Furi is like this. I understand for a game that is almost strictly a boss rush to have protracted fights, but the way Furi gives every overwhelming advantage to the opponent is, quite frankly, a load of bullshit. I would have preferred a game to have more bosses and have them take less time to defeat with each one. To me, that would have been a lot more fun. It makes me particularly frustrated because I think the visual presentation is quite exceptional. It's a fucking knockout. The colorful, vibrant scenery complements the excellent character designs by Takashi Okazaki, aka the guy that made the badass Afro Samurai. As Angry Gaming Centaur correctly put it, this game is as if Afro Samurai and Tron had a love child. The atmosphere with the cool, tough guy, pre-fight talk, and outlandish designs reminded me of a badass cartoon that I might have loved as a kid. I mean, I was into that kind of stuff, and I still am. You also get a really trippy, bunny-headed sidekick that spews philosophical babble and interesting tidbits about the next boss you'll be facing. It might be tedious for a lot of people, but to me, I found that kind of atmosphere to be simply enthralling. It's just a shame that most of that stuff comes from the really boring, tedious walking segments between each fight. The walking segments are awkward to control and go on forever. Even if you let the game do the walking for you, which is an option, it feels way too goddamn long. And I encountered some glitches along the way, such as characters getting stuck, not being able to walk for a while, weird segments where the thumbstick wouldn't respond to the direction you wanted to go to, particularly in segments that have topsy-turvy physics and gravity. It's a mess, and I really did not like these segments, and they quite frankly bored the living hell out of me. Even the gameplay itself can be quite good at times. I really like the twin-stick shooter elements the game brings in with your gun, and your attacks can feel fun and responsive at times. Furi is at its absolute best gameplay-wise when you rely solely on instincts and your brain plays the game for you. It induces you in that hypnotic type of play where you become one with the game and all of the distractions just melt around you. It's quite cool. And the bosses have so much potential to be challenging but highly enjoyable slugouts. I love their designs. Hell, there's even parts where I love the attack patterns and I was getting into the fight at points. But again, the difficulty curve is so fucked that I didn't want to keep banging my head against the wall just to get to the sections that I enjoyed. Even when I tried out the normal battles in practice mode, which you can do after beating the game on super condescending easy mode, it just reminded me that, oh, wow, this game would have completely screwed me over if I hadn't gone to easy mode. I still would be stuck playing this shit. No. No thank you. There are numerous exciting things about Furi, but what ultimately dampens my enthusiasm is the attitude the game goes with in its attempt to be challenging. I understand what I'm describing is going to appeal to a lot of people, and that's fine. I'm envious of you guys that I couldn't enjoy this because it sounded right up my alley. And there are flashes of brilliance here. Boss rush games are totally my thing, and I'm no stranger to tough, grueling battles. I take great pride in the fact that I soloed nearly every Bloodborne boss, and I've beaten quite a few games on their highest difficulty. However, when I look back on my time with Furi, all I can conjure up is a boiling feeling of annoyance in my gut. It's a game I barely have any desire to revisit because while it is undeniably challenging, it sacrifices a lot of potential fun to be hardcore. It's quite easy to be a hard game, but a truly great challenge is something that's tough, but gives you the tools and encouragement to succeed. Furi doesn't have either of those things, and that's unfortunate. And if you're one of those people who laughs at and insults others for not being hardcore enough for a game, oh, for God's sake, just go fuck off and masturbate to Battletoads some more. Bloody wankers. But yeah, he's just walking and walking and walking, and I tried fucking like going through, and there's this really dumb sewer level. No, because the game, there are boss battles, but that's mostly what the game is, and then you got these like really, like what I thought was initially really cool walking sections where it's very like contemplative and a bunch of like weird dialogue and stuff like that. And then you get to this, and then it's just, oh, well now it's just boring, and it just doesn't, it's just tedious because the controls are really weird and wonky, and the walking just gets on my nerves. And then you get shit like this where I'm not even touching the fucking controller right now. Like, my hands are off the controller. So let me put my hands on the controller. See, I can't look, because he's gonna keep walking. There we go. Well, there we go.